I started working as a bodyguard a few weeks ago. I was 34 and needed money after losing my job. The pay was good for this gig, so when I found myself at a rundown motel, I thought, why not? The flickering neon lights gave the place a creepy vibe. The air felt heavy with smoke and something I couldn't quite name. That first night, I met my client. She was scared and said something was after her. I didn't catch all her words, but my gut told me it was serious. Shadows danced in my peripheral vision as I listened. I figured it was just the dim light and my nerves. I was there to protect her, after all. I got a strange set of rules from my employer. The first one was easy. Always be in her line of sight. Okay, I could do that. The second one, never separate from her. No problem. But then, I was told never to let her talk about her past. That one puzzled me. How could I protect her if I didn't know what she had gone through? The fourth rule was to always trust my instincts. That sent chills down my spine. My instincts had not been great lately. Finally, I was told to never question the presence. What presence? I felt uneasy about that, but I followed the rules anyway. As the nights wore on, I noticed the shadows were getting bolder. My heart raced more often. It felt like I was being watched. One night, I heard something whispering, but when I looked, nothing was there. Just my imagination, I hoped. Then it all changed. I was in the motel room, keeping watch when I noticed the shadows creeping closer, almost curling around the corners of the room. It felt wrong. I was supposed to keep her safe, but I was starting to feel like I was the one who needed protection. One night, she said something about the entity. Panic shot through me as I remembered the rule about not letting her talk about her past. I turned to her, ready to warn her, when a voice whispered coldly behind me, "Why are you with her?" My breath caught in my throat as I spun around. I didn't see anything. The room felt colder. The shadows stretched along the walls and seemed to breathe. My heart was racing. I turned back to her, confusion swirling in my mind. What did the voice mean? I realized I was caught between rules and reality. The space felt smaller, like it was closing in on me. Just then, she looked really scared. Her eyes were wide, and I could see something was wrong. I wanted to ask her about the entity, but the words got stuck in my throat. I stayed silent, trapped by my own fear. "Kevin," she whispered, "it won't let you go." What did she mean by that? The shadows seemed to lean closer, and I felt like I was losing grip on everything. I didn't know what to do next. I felt helpless. The presence behind me was stronger now, ready to claim something. All I could do was stand there, frozen, as the walls around us began to close in. I wished I had never taken this job. I couldn't move. Panic surged in me like a wild animal, my instincts screaming to run, yet my feet remained glued to the floor. The shadows wrapped themselves around us, no longer mere shapes, but living things with intent. I glanced back at her. Her eyes flickered with dread, and something in me twisted painfully. This wasn't just about my fear anymore. It was about hers. "Stay with me," I said, trying to sound firm, but my voice wavered. I needed to keep my focus on her, as the rules demanded, but a part of me felt the weight of being responsible for two lives, now mine and hers. Suddenly, the lights flickered again, plunging the room into darkness for a heartbeat longer than before. When they came back, the shadows pulsed menacingly. I clenched my fists. This was more than an awful motel. It felt like a trap. I forced myself to take a step closer to her. "Tell me what's going on," I urged softly. "I can help you if you let me." It felt like throwing a lifeline. She shook her head violently, wild panic in her eyes. "No, you can't." Before she finished, the whispering returned, louder this time, filling my ears with chaotic noise. "You're not safe here," it hissed, thick and translucent like smoke. I spun, searching for its source, but there was nothing. My heart pounded against my ribs. I needed to act. Ignoring the rules felt liberating in that moment. I grabbed her arm, intending to pull her toward the door. "We have to go?" But just as I made a move, the shadows coalesced, blocking our path. A dark figure emerged from the murky depths, solid and cruel, its face obscured. I stumbled back, instinctively shielding her. The entity's presence loomed, suffocating. It wasn't just a shadow. It was a thing, a specter more real than my fear. "Why are you interfering?" It rasped, the voice unsettlingly familiar, like an echo of something I couldn't place. My skin prickled with dread. "I'm her bodyguard," I replied, my bravado faltering under the weight of its gaze. "She's under my protection." Protection, it repeated, mocking me. It took a step closer, and I could see ghastly hints of a face. My nausea surged, raw and hot. I wanted to scream, but the sound caught in my throat. "Kevin, don't listen," she shouted, her voice breaking through the suffocating fear. "It wants you. You mustn't give in." I could feel the weight of her words like a warning shot. The shadows didn't just threaten her. They wanted something from me. What did that mean? A wave of realization crashed over me. Her fear was deeper than I had understood. She had been running from this presence her entire life, a dark thread weaving through her past. And now it was trying to claim me, too. Fighting back against the oppressive darkness took all my strength. I reached out for her hand, and as our fingers intertwined, a surge of energy coursed through me. For a brief moment, I felt together we could resist it. But then, everything changed. The ground trembled, the walls vibrated, and the shadows shrieked. I knew we were out of time. In that moment, I caught sight of something lying in the corner, half hidden in darkness. It was a small object, glinting just enough to draw my gaze. Then, without warning, the lights went out again. I felt the world tilt. Darkness enveloped us completely, and I realized it wasn't just the room closing in anymore. We were being pulled down into something far worse. That's when everything went dark. I gasped for air as I fell into an abyss, weightless and lost. The sensation of falling tugged at my stomach, twisting my insides. I reached out blindly, fingers grasping at nothingness. Just when I thought the darkness had consumed me completely, a sudden light pierced through the veil, illuminating a distorted version of the motel room. The walls flickered and melted, revealing hideous faces trapped within the paint. I felt a cold grip around my heart, squeezing tighter as the shadows morphed into grotesque shapes. Dark arms stretched toward me, trying to pull me under. I fought against the tide, desperate to break free. "Kevin." Her voice cut through the chaos like a lifeline. I turned, and there she was, standing on unstable ground, barely illuminated. Her eyes were wide, reflecting the horror surrounding us. "We need to move." Nodding, I stumbled toward her, feeling the ground shift beneath my feet. I was terrified. Each movement sent chills down my spine, as though something sinister lurked just beyond my line of sight, waiting for us to falter. I took her hand again, feeling the spark of energy surge between us, but this time it felt shaky. Weakened by the brewing darkness, we moved together, but the shadows fought back. They writhed like living creatures, seeking to ensnare us with their icy tendrils. I felt a sharp pain shoot through my mind, as if they were trying to pry apart our connection. "Don't let go," I shouted, feeling the urgency behind my words. "Look," she cried out, pointing into the gloom. It was the object I had seen before, the one that had caught my eye. It lay on the ground, shimmering faintly amidst the shadowy chaos. I darted toward it, pulling her along. The moment we reached it, a sudden surge of energy pulsed through me, almost overwhelming. It was a pendant, cool and metallic in my palm. I could feel it vibrating, resonating with something deep inside me. "What is this?" I asked breathlessly, studying its intricate design. "It's a key," she said, fear etched across her face. "A key to fighting it. I never knew its location. I only heard whispers. It's meant for you." Before I could absorb the revelation, the shadows lunged harder, clawing at us with renewed fury. I clutched the pendant, instinctively knowing I had to use it. The moment I focused on it, a blinding light erupted, pushing back against the darkness that I could see the dark figure reeling, its form shifting in turmoil. It howled in rage, and the room began to tremble violently. "What do I do?" I yelled over the noise. "Channel the light." She squeezed my hand tighter, grounding me even as the chaos swirled around us. I closed my eyes, allowing the pendant's energy to flow through me. Thoughts raced in my mind, my fear, her fear, the weight of the shadows closing in. I focused everything into the gemstone, feeling a surge of heat burst from it. The shadows reeled, releasing their grip, revealing a path, but not for long. New shapes began to emerge from the darkness, faster and angrier than before, breaking through the swirling shadows. My heart sank into my stomach. "More are coming," I shouted, panic flooding my voice. We had to think fast. I'd faced danger before, but with each new entity that emerged, the stakes rose higher. I glanced back at her, my resolve hardening. Whatever it took, I wasn't leaving her behind. And that's when I understood the light wasn't just a means of escape. It was our only hope against an oncoming tidal wave of darkness. I concentrated hard on the pendant-esque glow, desperate to push back against the forces closing in on us. The darkness writhed with a mind of its own, eager to engulf us as we stood at the threshold, teetering on the edge of both life and death. My hands felt clammy against the cool metal and anchor connecting me to reality. "Get ready," I shouted, my voice barely cutting through the cacophony of howls and distorted screams. As the shadows lunged, I lifted the pendant, aiming it like a weapon. It emitted a resounding burst of light, briefly illuminating the contours of their twisted forms. The figures recoiled, but not for long. More surged forward, grotesque and vast, eclipsing our brief moment of hope. "We can't hold them back forever," she cried, her voice trembling with raw fear. "Then let us move," I said, steeling myself. In that moment, the choice was crystal clear. We had to run, push through this chaos, and find an exit. With her hand firmly in mine, we raced toward what appeared to be a doorway emerging from the shimmering light. But as we neared it, I stumbled, nearly losing my grip on her. My heart raced, and my body screamed for me to stop. The shadows clawed at my ankles as if wanting to drag me down forever. "Kevin," she shouted, pulling me back to my feet. "Keep going." I refocused on the glowing pendant, and a wave of warmth rushed through me. The light pulsed brighter, illuminating a path for us. With renewed determination, we plunged forward, breaking through the clutching tendrils as we crossed the threshold. We entered a room unlike the distorted motel. It was filled with swirling colors of blue and amber, like paint mixing on a canvas. But the vibrant beauty was deceptive. Shadows still loomed at the edges, veering closer, smirking as though they enjoyed our struggles. Then I heard a soft whisper, almost melodic, emerging from the depth of the colors. It was a voice I didn't recognize, yet it intrigued me. "Kevin," it beckoned, its tone captivating but laced with a sense of dread. "Stay close," I murmured to her, trepidation threading my voice. The shadows inched forward as if driven by that very whisper, their forms shifting eagerly. "Do you hear that?" she asked, wide eyes darting around in confusion and fear. "Yes," I replied, feeling a shiver run down my spine. It felt like a trap, luring us in deeper. But we can't give in to it. I scanned the room, desperate for any way to shield us from whatever was manipulating the air, the whispers weaving sinister tales in our minds. Suddenly, at the far end of the room, another shimmering object caught my attention, a similar pendant, glistening like a beacon. "What is that?" I pointed toward it, hope flickering within me. "I don't know, but it feels important," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Before I could ponder it further, the shadows lunged forward, faster than before, slithering their way toward us. It was a race against time. I turned, adrenaline coursing through my veins. "We need to get that pendant." Just as we took our first steps toward it, the whispers escalated, trying to drown out our resolve. "Don't listen. Don't look," I yelled as we barreled toward the light, the darkness clawing at our heels. But just as I thought we could reach our goal, everything shifted again. The colors started to swirl, enveloping the room in chaos. I felt gravity falter. For a brief moment, a gnawing dread crept in. What if we were running toward our doom? An icy chill grazed my neck, and a part of me froze. What if we can't escape? I thought, panic threatening to overtake me. Then I realized this was the moment I had to push past all that fear. For her. For us. We couldn't allow the shadows to win. I took a deep breath and surged forward, my heart pounding with life. The pendant in my hand pulsed with heat as I sprinted toward what might be our salvation. But just as I reached for the glowing pendant, an ominous shadow unfolded before us, blocking our path. Its presence was suffocating. What now? I thought, dread pooling in my stomach as the realization set in. The true battle was only just beginning. The shadow loomed larger, morphing into a grotesque figure that seemed to absorb the very light around it. Its many eyes glinted with malice, and a sharp grin split its face in ways that didn't feel human. I felt the warmth from the pendant dwindle, like a flame struggling against a fierce wind. "Kevin, we have to," she started, but I couldn't hold back the panic that rose within me. "Move," I shouted, taking a step back as the creature advanced. I felt the urge to withdraw, to escape, but I forced my feet to stay planted. There was nowhere left to go. The whispers echoed louder, drowning out everything else, a cacophony of voices, each taunting, each cruel. You cannot escape. You are mine. I gritted my teeth, the pendant hot in my grip. Not if I can help it, I yelled, lifting it toward the creature. I focused hard, willing the light to pour from it, but my resolve wavered under the weight of despair. The figure twisted, shifting slowly, as if savoring our fear. A shudder went through the room as it spoke again, its voice a slithering whisper that seeped into my mind. You think that light can save you? You're merely delaying the inevitable. The words chilled me, tightening the grip of dread in my chest. Just as I thought I would crumble, a surge of defiance coursed through me. Together, I urged her, locking my eyes on hers. We can fight this. With a nod, she stood beside me, hand tightening around mine. The warmth of her grip rekindled my strength. I raised the pendant even higher. This ends now. The light erupted, brighter than before, casting away some of the dark. I focused, pouring every ounce of my determination into the pendant. The shadows recoiled, shrieking in protest. Then, something unexpected happened. The pendant trembled in my hands, as if responding to my will. It flared magnificently, and from its glow, tendrils of light shot out, wrapping around the looming creature. It howled, a sound that clawed at my mind and rattled my bones. Keep going, she urged, pushing me forward. I stepped cautiously, every instinct telling me to run while we still could. But there was no turning back. My heart raced, a mix of fear and adrenaline as the light enveloped the shadow. Something flickered through the air, a vision of what lay ahead. I saw a dark doorway further in the room, pulsating with the same eerie energy as the pendants. If we could reach it, maybe we could escape this nightmare. Kevin, over there, she shouted, pointing toward the glowing doorway that I steered us, the creature struggling against the binding light. But its black tendrils lashed, trying to break free and reach for us again. Don't look back, I yelled, forcing my legs to move faster, urging her to keep up. As we sprinted toward the doorway, the shadows pressed closer, gnashing their teeth. Finally, we reached the threshold. The moment before we crossed, a sharp pain sliced through my chest, a cold shiver that reminded me of the creature's grip. I gasped, the weight of our past colliding with my present. Then, everything shifted, the darkness spun, the vibrant colors warped, and the world fell into an abyss of sound. I reached for her, but felt my hand slip away. No, this couldn't be happening. Before I could scream her name, the shadows crashed down, swallowing me whole. And in that moment, I understood I hadn't just opened a door, but unleashed something far worse. I woke up gasping, my chest heaving as if I'd been pulled from the depths of a nightmare. My surroundings were different now, cold, metallic, and eerily silent. I blinked, trying to adjust to the dull light flickering from above. Where am I? I croaked, my throat dry. There were no walls, no shadows. Just a vast expanse of emptiness. The ground beneath me felt smooth, almost dreamlike. Kevin. A voice pierced the silence. It was her voice. Relief flooded me, but it was quickly overshadowed by dread. Are you okay? I turned, still reeling from the abrupt change in scenery, and spotted her lying on the ground a few feet away. She looked disoriented, her eyes wide with fear. I'm fine, I think, I managed to say, trying to shake off the heaviness in my limbs. But what just happened? I don't know, she exclaimed, scrambling to her feet. One moment we were almost free, and now her voice trailed off, realizing the void around us. Before I could respond, a shift in the air caught my attention. A low hum reverberated through the space, and dark figures began to coalesce at the edges of my vision, swirling in tight, flickering patterns. They resembled whispered shadows, their forms indistinct yet undeniably threatening. Stay close, I shouted, instinctively putting myself between her and the gathering darkness. My heart raced. I could hear the whispers again, not from the shadow we had faced, but something deeper, more menacing. You should not be here, they snarled, their voices layered and distorted, echoing off non-existent walls. What do they want? She shivered, her voice barely above a whisper. Maybe they want to take us back, I replied, dread pooling in my stomach. Or worse. As if my words had summoned them, the shadows surged closer, sliding across the ground, reaching, grasping. I could feel their cold tendrils stretching into my mind, probing, searching for weakness. Kevin, look. She pointed sharply to our left, where a faint glow began to form. It wasn't just light. It was a doorway, much like the one we had seen before. But this one was different, darker, oozing with the same energy that had haunted us. Can we trust it? I asked, fear gnawing at me. The shadows were relentless, encroaching faster than I could process. Right now, it's our only option, she urged, her determination igniting a fire in my veins. We broke into a sprint toward the glimmering opening, my legs heavy but fueled by her perseverance. The shadows shrieked, their voices a cacophony of torment, threatening to swallow us whole if we faltered for even a moment. Go, go, I urged, pushing past the fear that threatened to slow us down. We were almost there, the glow growing brighter, urging us forward. Just as we reached the threshold, a chilling whisper stilled me. They are not meant to leave, I hesitated, my mind racing. The voice felt familiar, wrapping around my thoughts like a dark vine. What does that mean? I whispered, fear coiling tightly in my chest. Kevin, now? She shouted, grabbing my hand just as the shadows lunged. We crossed into the light together, and for a fleeting moment, I thought we'd escaped. But then, pain shot through me, the same cold grip I felt before. I looked down, horrified to see one of the dark tendrils curling around my ankle, dragging me back. No, I screamed, pulling against it. But the shadows surged, and as the light began to flicker, I realized this was far from over. The doorway pulsed with uncertainty, and panic washed over me. That's when I understood. We weren't just escaping. We were only beginning the fight. The true horrors were still waiting. I felt the stinging pull of the tendril tightening around my ankle. A surge of terror flared within me as I stumbled, desperately clawing at the ground, trying to find traction. Kevin. She was right beside me, her eyes wide with panic. The shadows were lunging at us, reaching, whispering promises of despair that pierced through my thoughts like daggers. I could see them more clearly now, dark serpents of smoke slithering toward us, their sunken faces hauntingly familiar. Stop, I shouted, my voice barely rising above the chaos. We have to fight. But how? Every time I tried to fight back, the shadows grew stronger, pulling at my memories, my fears. I struggled against the weight of them, focusing instead on her. We have to stay together. In that brief moment of clarity, I noticed something shining in the corner of my vision. It was a small object, half buried in the smooth surface beneath us. I didn't have time to think. Instinct took over. I lunged for it, managing to grab it just as the shadows lunged forward, enveloping me in ice-cold darkness. I felt her hand slip from mine as I was pulled deeper. No, Kevin. I heard her scream, her voice fading as the blackness swallowed me whole. Then, I was alone, surrounded by an oppressive silence, the shadows swirling hungrily around me. I held the object tightly, desperate to find escape. It was a metal medallion, engraved with strange symbols that glimmered faintly in the dark. Without thinking, I pressed it to my chest, instinct driving me. The shadows recoiled for a moment, as if surprised by my defiance. I could hear their whispers growing frantic, rising in pitch. You do not belong here, they shrieked. I forced myself to my feet, holding the medallion out like a shield. Let her go, I shouted, my voice breaking the oppressive silence. The shadows halted, their swirling forms momentarily stilled. Do you think you can change your fate? One of them hissed, a face breaking through the dark. It was a visage I knew well, an older version of myself, twisted and broken. You're tied to this place, Kevin. You cannot escape. You never could. No, I yelled, shaking my head. I want to be trapped. That's when the medallion flared to life, casting a bright light that pushed back the shadows, exposing the twisted faces of those who were trapped alongside me. They reached out, their hands clawing at the air, their eyes hollow with despair. I felt a surge of power coursing through me. The light grew, turning into a beam that pushed against the encroaching darkness. Stay back, I roared, holding my ground. The darkness writhed, but I could also sense it retreating. The faces of the lost flickered in and out, mixing with the chaotic shadows. I could feel her presence still nearby, but the medallion had given me an opening. I had to act. Where is she? I demanded, my voice echoing. I focused on the light, channeling my determination into it. The shadows twisted, coiling around one another in a desperate attempt to regain control. Then, in an instant, everything changed. The light flickered, the screams grew louder, and I was thrown back, tumbling through a tunnel of shadows. But instead of landing back where I began, everything opened up around me, plunging me into a new reality. That's when I saw her. She was floating, suspended in a mist of shimmering light, her face radiating both fear and hope. Everything else fell away. I was ready to fight. The moment I saw her, a rush of energy surged through me. There was no time for hesitation. She was in trouble, and I had to get to her. "Hang on," I shouted, my voice cracking against the vast emptiness. I could feel the darkness around me stirring restlessly, sensing my determination and growing angry as I moved closer. The mist flickered, revealing an opening where shadows clawed at the edges. She was halfway submerged in the light, but her eyes were wide, pleading. "Kevin, please. I can't hold on much longer." I reached out for her, but the shadows hissed, erupting around me. They lashed out, grabbing at my arms and legs, pulling me back. I tightened my grip on the medallion, its light flickering but still burning bright. It was my only hope. "Let her go?" I shouted again, forcing the words through gritted teeth. I swung the medallion like a sword, and the light exploded outward in a dazzling arc. The shadows shrieked, recoiling from the brightness. It felt like I was pushing against a wall made of angry beasts, and every inch gained was more exhausting than the last. Then I noticed something strange. The symbols on the medallion began to pulse in rhythm with the chaos around me. They seemed to resonate with each anguished scream of the shadows. I had an idea, but I wasn't sure it would work. "Focus on me," I yelled, darting to the right where the shadows were thinner. I could feel her gaze on me, her fear mixing with hope. I steadied myself, raising the medallion high. "Bridging light, unite us," I shouted, turning my intention into raw energy. The medallion responded. A beam shot out, hitting the shadows and causing them to writhe as if they were being burned. But then, instead of just retreating, they began to swirl more violently, like a storm gathering strength. "Kevin," she cried out again. The shadows were advancing, reclaiming the ground I had just fought for. Desperation surged through me. "I'm coming. Stay back," I managed to yell as I continued to push forward. The ground beneath me cracked and crumbled, and I felt a pull toward the dark mouths opening in the floor. I had to redirect their force somehow. The symbols on the medallion glowed brighter as I summoned my willpower. The beam of light split, showering the shadows in a radiant spectrum. Bright vines of luminescence entangled the dark mist, but it only fueled their fury. "It's not enough," I thought, panic creeping in. But just then, I remembered the faces I'd seen, the lost souls bound and trapped in darkness. They had fought, but they had also been afraid and beaten down. I wouldn't let that happen to me. I gathered my breath, closing my eyes for a split second. "You don't control me. Light of lives lost, take my fear." The medallion ignited into a white-hot flame. The shadows screamed. "Kevin," she cried again. This time there was an edge of clarity in her voice. I opened my eyes to a sight that changed everything. The shadows weren't just dark forms. They were memories, echoes of failures, losses, regrets. Realization crashed around me. "I control this," I roared, channeling every ounce of strength I had. The medallion extended the light like a lighthouse beacon pushing back a storm. Then, I saw it. Among the shadows, a figure stood, its features sharpened by the glow. It was another part of me, a version I had long feared. I didn't just need to fight the shadows. I needed to face myself. I took a deep breath and stepped forward into the light, ready to confront whatever awaited me. The light enveloped me, and I felt a sudden chill that clawed at my skin. The figure ahead shifted, morphing into a reflection of my deepest fears. I had thought it would be easy, but standing face to face with my own darkness was overwhelming. "Why are you here?" It spoke, its voice a twisted echo of my own. "You can't escape me. You're the one who let everything slip away." I clenched my fists. "That is not true. I fought for every chance I had." "Did you?" It taunted, stepping closer. "You let her fall into the shadows. You let your own regrets weigh you down." The figure pointed to the girl struggling in the light, her face twisting in agony. You think a little light will save her? You're wrong. I shivered, doubt coursing through my veins. But I couldn't let it win. Not now. Not when she needed me most. I raised the medallion higher. You don't control my actions anymore. I'm not letting you manipulate my past. The figure recoiled, but then it lunged at me, shadows swirling like a tempest. It was disorienting, as if every moment of failure and regret was rushing back, attempting to drag me down into the darkness with it. I had to fight back harder. The surge of warmth coursed through my veins as I called out, "Light of hope, protect us." The medallion flickered rapidly, responding to my urgency. Rays of light shot out in every direction, striking the creature and illuminating the path to her. The figure writhed, its form now unstable, but its laughter echoed in my ears, drowning out my thoughts. You think you can save her? You're not strong enough for this fight. But as I looked at her, trapped in a shadowy grip, a wave of determination rose within me. I am strong enough, I shouted, focusing every ounce of my will on the medallion. The radiant warmth intensified, crackling like electricity in the air. Suddenly, the shadows paused, almost hesitating as though they felt the shift in energy. I seized the moment and dashed forward, reaching out to her. "Hold on. I'm almost there." In my grasp, the medallion brightened even more, and I poured everything I had into it. Then I saw the connection between her and me, a thread of light weaving through the darkness, binding us together. "We'll face this together." Her eyes met mine, and for the first time, I saw trust replace fear. I felt the shadows beginning to tremble, fracturing under the relentless force of light. Then I heard its whispers spreading through the darkness, hesitant, unsure. They weren't just shadows anymore. They were doubts taking form. But just then, the figure lunged again, now more desperate. "You can't do this. You're not free. You're mine." The shadows burst forth, a last desperate attempt to consume me, to drag me back into that abyss I had fought so hard to escape. I held my ground, refusing to yield. "You don't own me. Together, we can break free from this." With one final shout, I thrust the medallion towards the darkness, ready to carve a new path for us both. But as the light blazed forward, a sudden and unsettling realization struck me. I felt someone's presence behind me, waiting to intervene. I turned only to find a figure emerging from the shadows, a twisted, familiar face. And in a moment of dread, I recognized it. I wasn't fighting just for her. I was fighting for my very existence. I stumbled backward, my breath hitching as the shadowed figure manifested before me. It was the very embodiment of my fears, dark, distorted, and deeply unsettling. It wore the face of my past, every regret and failure etched into its expression, eyes gleaming with malicious joy as it advanced. "No," I gasped, shaking my head vigorously. "You're not real. You can't control me anymore." "Control?" It echoed, its voice a chilling mockery. "I am you. You cannot escape what you are." The shadows swirled around us with renewed fervor, their whispers building into a dreadful chorus of doubt. I felt a wave of despair crash over me, self-doubt, anger, guilt drowning my resolve in an ocean of shadows. I looked past the darkness to where she floated, her expression a mix of pain and hope. I could not falter now. "Focus on the light," I muttered to myself, recalling the warmth of the medallion. I clutched it tightly, feeling its energy pulse in sync with my heartbeat. "This is not the end." "Kevin," her voice cut through the chaos, resonating with clarity. "Don't give in. You've come this far." Her encouragement lit a fire in my chest. I locked eyes with my shadowy opponent, resolve hardening within me. "I want to let you take me back. I'm done being afraid." With a determined shout, I raised the medallion high. "Light of hope, protect us." As I focused on the radiant energy pulsing from the medallion, I felt a surge of power fueled by our connection. The light erupted forth, shimmering rays piercing through the oppressive darkness. The shadowy figure shrieked in alarm as the light enveloped it. "No, you cannot," but its voice was drowned out as the blinding brilliance washed over everything around us, driving the shadows back. I could feel them retreat, their menacing buzz fading into a faint echo that I held my ground, harnessing every ounce of strength and bravado. "You are not my past," I bellowed, letting the light guide me, striding forward to gain ground. The darkness flickered around me like dying embers, and in that moment of clarity, I saw the connection between her and me shimmering in the air, a bond that refused to be severed. "We'll face this together," I yelled, my heart hammering. I could feel her presence beside me now, the warmth of her spirit igniting my courage. "You're stronger than this," she urged, and the shadows around us twisted in fear, uncertain of the force we had become. Together, we raised the medallion high once more. "Light of all those lost, unite and break these chains." The brightness surged, and tendrils of light wrapped around us, reinforcing our connection as we pushed against the darkness merging towards us. Then came a moment of triumph. As the light broke through, the shadows erupted in chaos, swirling and shrieking as they were pulled apart like smoke in the wind. I felt liberation in my limbs, the weight of my fears dissipating like a bad dream. But just as I thought I could breathe, I felt the Shadow's presence coalesce behind me like a storm gathering strength. "You think you've won?" It cackled, a sinister mirth in its tone. "You'll never be free of me." That chill ran up my spine, grounding me. "You don't define me." With one final act of desperate strength, I pushed the light even higher. It surged, consuming the shadows around us. The darkness raged, claws swiping at us, but I could see the light fracturing the malevolence, illuminating the truth hidden within. I steeled myself, feeling the warmth of her hand in mine. "Now," I shouted. As the path cleared in front of us, we surged forward, freeing ourselves from the grasp of the shadows. Light enveloped us, promising something beyond the darkness. Just as I felt hope tangibly rise within me, I caught a glimpse of the dark doorway we had first entered. The shadows still loomed there, but weakened. "Together," she echoed, our voices ringing like a battle cry. Hand in hand, we leaped through the opening. The darkness shrieked in fury as we crossed into a world of blinding light. The motel was gone. Instead, we found ourselves in an expanse of luminescence, brighter and more expansive than anything I had ever known. An awakening. I fell to my knees, panting, feeling the weight of everything that had happened sink in. "Are we free?" she whispered, her voice poignant and delicate, filled with tremors of uncertainty. "I don't know," I replied honestly, catching my breath, my heart still racing. "But I think we're somewhere safe for now." The shadows were distant, mere flickers in the back of my mind. With every second that passed, I felt their grip loosen, yet the haunting whispers were still there, lingering just beyond my consciousness. "What does it mean?" she asked, fear rippling in her voice. "Maybe it means the fight isn't over," I murmured, glancing back toward the void from which we'd escaped. A part of me longed to understand. The echoes of what lurked beneath the surface still whispered in dark corners of my mind, a reminder that not all shadows can be banished. I could feel the weight of an unanswered question pressing heavily against my heart. What awaited us beyond this calm moment? The uncertainty loomed like dark clouds in the distance. "I moved to a different city after that," I said, trying to steady the lingering tension. "Sometimes I wonder if those shadows are still there, if they ever truly let go. But mostly I try not to think about it."